Thank you, Mr. Abdul Amir Al-Ajmi, for sharing insights on Oman's circular economy and the way ahead. I would now like to invite on stage Engineer Azhar Al-Hinai, the Director of Chemicals and Waste Management at the Environment Authority of Oman. Engineer Azhar has over a decade of experience in environmental regulations, sustainability, and compliance monitoring. She plays a key role in shaping national policies, strategies, and their implementation in alignment with international standards. Please welcome Engineer Azhar Al-Hinai on stage. As Ms. Azhar is currently occupied, we will go to the next speaker, Mr. Mohammed Al-Wishahi, Senior Operations Leader at Sahar Aluminium, with over 2 decades of experience in aluminium production and industrial operation. As acting cast house and port manager, he leads key initiatives focused on operational excellence, safety, and sustainability. He also plays a central role in advancing the company's scrap recycling and circular economy efforts. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning. It's my privilege to be here today. Talking about Sahar Aluminium recycling aluminium efforts. If you talk about aluminium recycling, in Sahar Aluminium we not consider it as a side activity. It is a strategic opportunity. In Sahar Aluminium, if you move just to, it's with me, okay, sorry. Okay, so as I said, we consider aluminium recycling as an opportunity a strategic opportunity with several drivers, starting from enhancing in-country value and improving our productivity, as well as reduce carbon footprint and low energy intensity. So recycling integrated as a strategic lever to improve all of this. We started in 2023 with a pilot stage, 75 ton only. We scaled next year in 2024 by 3,553, and in 2025 we scaled up to 4,500. This clearly introduced how controlled and disciplined we are moving year by year. So the future target and strategic direction. So our target is to scale external scrap utilization to 6,000 ton by 2030. The main important thing is we are also aiming and have a vision to reach to 25,000 by doing some furnace conversion and improving our melting process. So the key enabler here, development of a dedicated scrap storage facility, installation of high capacity preheating furnace, and conversion of holding furnace to melting furnace. The ecosystem development, collaboration with government initiatives, and continued hosting of aluminum industry as we are here today. Strengthening the circular economy, the value chain. So achieving this target requires both internal and external. Operational challenge and lesson learned. The challenge is external, not internal. Developing recycling ecosystem is still in maturity stage. A limited capability of collectors and melters in scrap segregation and classification, handling and storage practice, compliance with international safety and quality standard. If we don't learn, we'll not improve. So we learned strong governance and standard are essential to scale up. Quality control must be enforced at source. And supplier capability development is critical for long-term sustainability. Collaboration and value chain development. Establish industrial collaboration platform with collectors, melters, buyers, and government entities. Conduct annual forum, as we are here today, to share performance challenge and improvement opportunity. Supplier development, we conduct several site visits to the supplier in order to inform, in order to ensure that we have safety compliance and quality control standard, as well as process alignment. Supply base expansion, increase supplier base. We started in 2023 with one supplier. Last year we were forming 4 suppliers, which is increasing our yearly metal recycling. So, innovation and technology. Technology is the future. So market driver in this part, increasing global demand for low carbon aluminium. Recycling requires 95% only of the energy of the primary aluminium. Strong pressure to improve sustainability and efficiency. The key opportunity, advanced scrap sorting and classification technology, improve melting efficiency, and digital integration for scrap tracking and quality control, enhancing metal recovery rates. The strategic impact, reduce the energy cost and consumption, lower environmental footprint, improve process efficiency and yield. Responsible management of recycling-related waste, process control and monitoring. Integration of KPIs of natural gas, consumption and gross generation, continuous monitoring to ensure emissions and waste are controlled. Operational approach, scrap melting, optimize using metal superheat from both line, and minimizing reliance on gas burners, which reduce the emissions. Performance outcome, no significant increase in the gross generation observed with recycling effort. Effective control of process-related waste stream. Circularity practice, implementation of internal gross recycling process, minimizing waste into external holding, supporting overall circular economy objective. So the future of aluminium is circular, and Sahara Aluminium putting itself in the center of this transformation. Thank you very much.
And now we will have the keynote speaker, Engineer Azhar Al-Hanai. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, all of you. It is a pleasure to be here to explore one of the important sectors in Sultanate of Oman and abroad, which have economical value in environment and economy that support contributing to circular economy and deriving sustainability, and also in the growth of other industries. Today, we will explore the reality of the aluminium scrap based on the statistics and data collected from Environment Authority to track the recycling sector in Oman, based on some regulation has been issued by Environment Authority, and also will explore some challenges related to this sector. All of this, our aim is to have some important solutions to derive sustainability and to have some transparency and to keep sustain of all stakeholders. Regarding waste recycling in Oman, there is some regulations has been adopted by Environment Authority in collaboration with other entities in Oman. So when we keep tracking of recycling in Oman, after issuance of the decision number 15/2021, recycling has increased from 27% to reach 38% within 5 years. Compared to Oman Vision 2040, it is expected to reach 45% in 2030 and 65% in 2040. So talking about today, the recycling of waste has reached a total recycling quantities of 1.6 million tons and recycled in 85 facilities in Oman. Talking about the regulations framework, regarding recycling facility licenses, they are regulated under the regulation 107/2023, and this one has simplified since 2017, which with automatic issuance of licenses to start the investment. Also, there is some simplifications in the reduce of the fees of these licenses. All environmental rules and conditions has been appeared in this permit. Back. Excuse me? Back. Regarding the import of waste, there is a decision has been issued in 2023. As we have noticed within this journey, there is some shortage in obtaining quantities in the local market. So we allow the facilities to import waste from outside of Oman and regulated under this decision to achieve the environmental aspects and also to achieve the circularity. Regarding export of waste, we have mentioned that there is some regulations has been issued in 2021, which regulate about 10 types of recyclable waste, including aluminium waste. So this decision, there is some articles in this decision which not allowed for any collectors or exporter to export this waste outside of Oman. So it allows the facilities to recycle this waste inside our market. Regarding waste sector statistics, we keep tracking of the recycling sector in order to study the challenges faced by in this sector, even for facilities, collectors, or even generators. We can see from this graph in 2021, the amount of waste, it was 3.01 million tons. It increased in 2025 to reach 4.6 million tons, which is there is a high generation of waste. So some efforts have to be adopted by the governmental sector and also even the generators and other stakeholders. We can notice that also the recycling quantities of waste has increased within these 5 years to reach 1.7 million tons in 2025. But still, it counts 38% only from the total waste generated in Oman. But on the other hand, we have 60%, which is diverted to be a landfill for landfilling, which is not make use of them, only disposed in the landfills without any segregation and without keeping use of them. So we have to do more efforts to utilize this waste and make use of them to be recycled and to be treated in Oman. Also from this chart, we can notice that the export and import of waste has been regulated. And in 2025, there is no export of waste has been noticed. And so this is based on the regulation which has been issued. So we reach our target, but there is some challenge we will mention later on. Why we don't have or we don't notice or we have zero quantities of waste exported. Regarding aluminium scrap statistics, in 2021, it was high recycling of aluminium scrap in 3 licensed facilities. But within the increase, within these 5 years, to reach 5 factories in recycling of scrap, we still notice that there is some decrease in 2023 and 2024 of recycling of this scrap. So we have studied all these challenges regarding the export of waste and the shortage of obtaining this waste from the local market. So we have do some efforts to solve this challenge. As we prohibit any export of this waste in 2024, we noticed that in 2025 we reach 58.8 of waste recycled, which is 3 times more than the previous year. There is some challenge has been faced in this sector based on our workshops, based on our meetings with the facilities and collectors, which is mainly was in regulation, market structure, and also in operational practices. When we explore the value chain of this scrap, starting from the collection, including generation, we have noticed that in the collection period or collection stage, there is some challenge when the collectors has find this waste as mixed waste with other type of waste, which make it difficult for the collectors and recyclers to sort this waste in a proper way that it will not affect the quality of aluminium after processing. High contamination with plastic, steel, and mixed waste. Also, this will be reflected in high cost of gathering small dispersed quantities. And also, we noticed that there is some illegal collection, which is practices by illegal collectors which are not permitted or licensed from the Environment Authority. Regarding transportation stage, the challenges are in high logistic and fuel costs. Also, low volume to weight efficiency of scrap transport. Also, we notice here unlicensed transporters and the lack of traceability, even for vehicles and also for the collected quantities of waste in the collection sites. Also, we notice there is we prohibit any export of waste. We noticed that there is illegal export of waste using some practices, using, for example, HS code, which is belong to the waste, and also maybe it belongs to other mineral waste. Also, there is some practices in hiding contaminated materials to pass also the inspection procedures, and also to pay for the government permits and other entities. Regarding sorting, there is some difficulties identified in identifying aluminium alloys accurately, mixed material, as we mentioned previously, and high cost of advanced sorting technologies because of the mixing of waste, and there is no segregation of waste. Also, mixing of low quality scrap to increase the weight of waste, which will affect the prices. Also, hiding of contaminated materials. Regarding the processing, there is high energy consumption. Also, metal loss due to adaptation to oxidation, and also sensitivity to impurities. Also, we have small illegal practices during operation without any environmental control, and this has been noticed by our inspectors during following up of the recycling facilities. Also, there is some lack of filters, proper waste management and segregation, and proper waste treatment. Regarding recycling, there is challenge in maintaining consistent alloy consumption. Also removing contaminants from this waste. It is similar to what we mentioned in the processing stage. In the final, we have in the manufacturing process, we are talking mainly in the quality of the recycled waste. As there is no segregation of waste and could be mixed with other waste, this will affect the quantity or the quality of waste to be used in the manufacturing process. So the government, in Environment Authority and other entities like ABSR and BIA, also municipalities, we are working to enhance this sector to be more active and more efficient. So we have worked in some project. We already mentioned that we have prohibited any export of waste since 2024. And also, accordingly, to ensure that there is no illegal export outside Oman, we have do some risk management procedure regarding HS code review, and also subject the shipments to inspection and monitoring in the borders. Also, we are working with the Ministry of Transport to activate the National Vehicles Tracking System to in overall Oman, not just in the collection vehicles. This will help in tracking the quantity which is collected from the generators to be ensured that it will be received and recycled in the facilities without any illegal practices. Also, we have establishing and activating the National Waste Electronic System. This will be held by ABSR, and also in collaboration with the BA company. So this will ensure that all quantities generated from the industries, household, and other sources of waste will be recorded in this system. So we'll utilize this waste to be recycled or to have other chance to invest on rather than to direct them to BA landfills. Also, we have some project in implementation of national plan to maximize the waste. I will explain this in details. And we create platform to organize the pricing market in, to make use of this waste. Talking about the national plan to maximize the value of waste, starting from generators, this plan has been implemented by ABSR in collaboration with the Environment Authority and BA company. So it will allow that the generator waste using the electronic system to have, the generators have to be registered in BA system, electronic system, and to have to sign contracts with BA. Also have to be licensed from the Environment Authority and municipalities. Regarding transporter, all transporters have to be registered in BA also. Have to have IVMS system, and also have a driving license for HSE. BA transfer station and landfills will receive all these quantities, registered quantity in the system, and then the sorting of waste will be in the transfer station and landfilling and landfills. There will be equal distribution of waste quantity between the recycling facilities. The unsorted waste will be directed to be a landfill to make use of it for example, to be transferred to energy or other kind of resources. Regarding recycling facility, they will obtain their waste from BIA. BIA will be as a hub for waste collection, and then recycling facility have to have a contract with BIA company, so they will ensure that the quantities will be supplied to this facility by BIA company. So we aim to improve the market transparency from this and reduce the illegal practices regarding, for example, taking waste outside or taking waste in other facilities which are not licensed in order to export it. Also to support local industry and have reliable supply chain of this waste to direct it to the recycling facilities, and also to have strong industrial integration and investment opportunity. Thank you very much.
Sohar Aluminium is grateful to the Environment Authority for extending their patronage to the Aluminium Recycling Forum 2026, and we would like to present a token of gratitude. I would request Engineer Saeed Al-Masoudi and Al-Mu'thar Al-Kharousi, board member of Sohar Aluminium, to kindly come on stage to do the honors. I also request Dr. Mohammed Al-Kalbani to join us on stage. We are proud to announce that the gifts presented today have been thoughtfully designed to embody the theme of this forum, from waste to value. The recycled gift pouch has been produced from discarded PPE, while the commemorative trophy has been made using recycled aluminium sample material from Sohar Aluminium's laboratory. Together, they stand as a meaningful reflection of sustainability, innovation, and the value that can be created when materials are reimagined with purpose. We kindly request our valued guests to take a token of appreciation at the end of the proceedings. Ladies and gentlemen, we also invite you to stay connected to Sohar Aluminium beyond today's forum. Please scan the QR code on screen to follow us on social media and to keep up with the company's latest updates, sustainability initiatives, and industry developments. You can also connect through the official handle at Sohar Aluminium and visit the website at www.sohar-aluminium.com. We will now take a 20-minute break. I would welcome you to have a look at the exhibition stands at the foyer. I request all of you to assemble back in time, as we will have a number of interesting sessions after the break. Policy-driven scrap recycling, maximizing climate and economic value. And to take forward the proceedings, it is my pleasure to invite on stage Mr. Jamil Shakil, the Manager of Corporate Communications and Social Responsibility at Sohar Aluminium. With over 2 decades of corporate experience, including more than 18 years in leadership roles across IT, projects, communication, CSR, and ECG, Mr. Jamil brings a unique blend of technical expertise and strategic insight. He holds an MBA in Total Quality Management from the University of Leicester. Please welcome Mr. Jamil Shakil on stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan, for the kind introduction. I was told one thing before I came on stage. They said, please don't forget to switch on your mic, and that's exactly what I did. So thank you for the reminder. It's wonderful to have you back after the break. I believe one of the most difficult things to do is to take on a session immediately after a coffee break or a lunch break, because a lot of people are still there mentally. But today I'm not worried about that. You know why? Because the panelists that we have for the upcoming session are some of the most amazing, inspiring people that you are going to have a chance to hear from. And it's an absolute honor for me to do this panel session with these wonderful speakers. So on the dais, I'm going to invite them one by one, and I request the panelists, as your name is called out, to please come and take your seat on the stage. Our first panelist for this panel is Dr. Muhannad Al-Kalbani, the Vice President at the Oman Net Zero Center. He leads national initiatives on decarbonization, emissions reduction pathways, and sectoral transition planning. Please welcome Dr. Muhannad Al-Kalbani. Our next panelist is Dr. Mohab Ali Al-Hinai, Vice President, Sustainability and Circular Economy at Oman Environmental Services Holding Company, BEA. He is also the co-founder of Sustainable Investments LLC. He serves on the board of the IFCA Group and the Royal Academy of Management's Alumni Board. Please welcome Dr. Mohab. For the third panelist, not a stranger today to us, it's my pleasure to welcome back on stage Engineer Abdul Amir Al-Ajmi, Advisor to the Minister for Strategic Planning at the Ministry of Economy. And last but not the least, completing this esteemed panelist lineup is Mr. Muzammil Garawala, Founder and President of Ala Group. He is a dynamic entrepreneur and influential figure in the recycling and trading industry. As the Vice President of the Bureau of Middle East Recycling, he has been a recipient of multiple awards, including the Best Recycler Award. Please welcome Mr. Muzammil. All right, so now that we have the panel here lined up and ready to go, I'm going to ask my first question for this particular panel. I'm going to direct to Dr. Muhannad. Dr. Muhannad, if you could let us know at this Aluminium Recycling Forum, we've been hearing in the morning the keynote speeches, the focus on circular economy and all of these things. I'd like to know from you, and all of us would like to know, from a national climate strategy perspective, what role does circular economy and specifically scrap recycling play in supporting Oman's net zero agenda?
Thanks, Jamil, and thanks to Sahara Aluminium, and thanks to Sheikh Msaoudi for leading this. We visited Sahara Aluminium as Oman Net Zero Center a few months ago, and we saw so many great things. And I'm not saying this because we're in a forum run by Sahara Aluminium, but Sahara Aluminium is indeed leading by example when it comes to circular economy, when it comes to decarbonization. Just to answer your question, Jamil, so scrap, reuse and recycling, as well as circular economy, play a major role in decarbonizing our economy in Oman. I'd like to just highlight one thing, one major news that happened a couple of weeks ago, or I should say just in the last week of Ramadan. Our updated net zero strategy for the whole country has been approved by the cabinet. Part of this updated net zero strategy is the industrial sector, which breaks down into metals and chemicals. It basically defines a new sectoral, a national target and a new sectoral target for all the sectors and subsectors. Metals is one of them. Metals, as of 2024, I think emits about 5.8 million tons of CO2 equivalent. The new target for the metals by 2035 is to reduce 5% as a committed target, and 4% as a committed target and 5% as a conditional target. This will not be possible without all available levers, and recycling and scrap reuse is definitely one of them. According to our strategy, scrap reuse by 2030 can reduce around 100,000 tons of CO2 equivalent, and there is one major player in Oman, and the rest are processing plants. So it is a significant lever. We believe that it's not about just the quantity, increasing the quantity, it's about the whole value chain, and we'll discuss this further. But scrap, reuse and circularity is very important in industry and in aluminium and metals in particular.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Muhannad. Now let's just build up on that when you spoke about scrap recycling. I'd like to move on to Dr. Mohab. If you could let us know what are the key enablers for effective, and this is a big term, it's the PPP, public-private partnerships in Oman recycling ecosystem, because we're still not there, but what do you believe are the key enablers for this to happen effectively?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I just want to take a step back and maybe highlight or summarize some of the topics that keynote speakers this morning spoke about. If you look at the National Circular Economy roadmap that the Ministry of Economy is leading, and I think what that does is basically gives us the baseline, kind of a vision of where we are and where we want to go. And as Abdul Amir mentioned, Oman, with the global, linear economy, uses more than 107 billion tons of raw material every year.
True.
50% of that gets stuck in long-term stocks, buildings, infrastructure. More than 40% ends up as waste, either solid waste or emissions. And less than 6%, as you saw from the figure that Abdul Amir shared, less than 7% or 6% is actually cycled back in the global economy. Obviously, that is not sustainable. We have a finite amount of raw material on this planet. And so moving towards a circular economy, reducing waste, recycling is not just good for the environment, it's actually an economic necessity. Otherwise, we are going to run out of resources, and then the economy is not going to function properly. So back to your question, one of the main areas I think that enables this is a clear policy. A clear policy, and you see that a lot of entities now in Oman are working, collaborating together. The Ministry of Economy, the Environment Authority, the Authority for Public Services Regulation, other government entities, state-owned enterprises, the private sector. And once you have a clear policy, what that does is it gives a clear signal to the investors, to the manufacturing sector that, okay, this is the Oman ecosystem. This is what is available. They have a clear policy, a clear strategy. So if I go into the market, targeting a specific waste stream or a specific, I don't like to call it waste, a specific resource stream, right? Then you understand what are the quantities, and just what Amir mentioned is like data is very important.
Yes.
If you don't have data, then you're working blindly. So these are the available raw material or secondary raw material. This is the demand for them, and this is the price. So if all these signals or policies are clear, it makes it easier to attract investors and attract the private sector to establish these businesses.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Mohab. Interesting points you mentioned there, especially about the fact that we've got such a low recycling rate globally, less than 6%, as we heard from Engineer Abdul Amir earlier today. And I will move on to you, but I'd like to circle around to Mr. Muzammil before coming back to Engineer Abdul Amir, because the question that I'd like to ask you is, just building up on what Dr. Mohab has said, what do you believe are, especially for somebody who is in the industry, are the key system gaps in Oman's recycling value chain that effectively limit your efficiency and scalability?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting, and it's a great honor to be here. I thank to Sohar Aluminium for making such an event which is great value for the recyclers like us. Well, according to me, this is a great topic what we have brought up, which I told you also. This is a very informative information which we can share. Oman is growing in a very big way, which I can see for last few years actually. And the recycling is just not the West anymore. It's the resources which now coming up with the new industry coming up. So it's like investor like us, we have planned to come and like small medium scale industry which we are planning here, and we can see potential the recycling which a big time possibility in Oman to kind of help or kind of support to achieve the net zero which Oman has vision of 2040, which can be supported. And Oman has potential big way, and especially in the scrap industry, which can lead to this support, according to me.
Okay. All right. So then from there, that actually brings me, because you are an investor now who has invested into the recycling landscape and you are seeing some gaps. So I'd like to ask, again, from a Ministry of Economy perspective, what policy or market-based mechanisms could incentivize the investment for those looking to invest in this particular field? Because it's not just the economics of it, but it's also the environmental aspect, it's also the increasing of recycling, and overall, using the best out of what you mentioned as finite resources. So what kind of incentives do you think would be practical market base for such investors?
Okay. Foremost, we need to treat circularity of circular economy as really value generation machine, not like cost center. And economically, that value comes from reduce dependency on import, utilize local material more, keeping the recycled material in the economy longer, which creates jobs. So for investment, in my simple mind, they will need 2-3 things to incentivize that. First of all, policy should be clear. Policy at the high level should be clear for all sectors. Second thing is we need to prioritize as a government or as a nation where we prioritize where we can create more impact in which industry. So we attract investors in that arena. Investors, they need some kind of incentives that aggregate the demand as well. So if the demand is clear for investors, I think that will make them there will be more appetite, to come to Oman and invest in this. And these investors either local or outside Oman, regional or international. Because even now for our SMEs, who we saw outside before the event, if they have more demand, clear policy, clear incentives, clear financing models for them, of course they would like to do this business. This is a very good business for all. So 2-3 things. Policy, we prioritize where we have more value or impact, and maybe good modeling for financing.
So provide good financing options, right?
Yeah.
All right, so then that again is going to bring me back to you, Dr. Mahab, with what he mentioned. I'd like to know, when we speak about this whole process of improving the recycling ecosystem and improving the recycling rates, what is BIA doing specifically to strengthen the integration across the waste value chain or the resources value chain, from collection to processing and recovery, and then eventually moving on to recycling of those?
Great. So you've seen in some of the, maybe Engineer Azhar's presentation, where BIA is still the sole custodian or owner mandated by the government to handle waste. So we have, you can think of it, the sector in 3 phases. Maybe the upstream phase, which is basically the collection and transport, then the midstream, and then the downstream. So right now in the upstream phase, the local municipalities are responsible for the collection and the transport of the waste collected, the municipal solid waste I'm talking about, to BIA's facilities. So we start handling the waste from midstream, basically the logistics and transport from the transfer stations all the way to the final disposal at the landfills. And before that, obviously, the segregation, if possible, and the recycling rate in the downstream. And what we've been mandated right now is, okay, this is your resource, this is your secondary raw material, and you need to start monetizing that. And we have a significant number of projects that are, starting to gain traction, and some of them are very advanced. So, like you've seen in some of these presentations earlier, aluminum and lead are 2 metals that can be recycled indefinitely. They do not lose their chemical properties, and hence they do not lose their economic value. We have a lot of facilities now that recycle lead acid batteries, because lead is a very important metal. As you've seen in the presentations this morning, aluminum, the amounts have increased. 1.1 million tons throughout the GCC of recycled aluminum in 2024, 72,000 tons here in Oman. So obviously, big opportunity for Oman to capture a bigger market share. Now, if you look at the waste management hierarchy, it's reduce or prevent, then it is reuse, and then it is recycle, and then recovery, and then disposal. So we have projects throughout these pillars. So at the reduce, we do a lot of public awareness to help, because the best kind of waste is no waste at all. Right? And that's what we what we try to instill it, circular economy is a mindset shift. It's really about change, about a specific shift in the behavior of people. And then we have the reuse. We have some reuse centers that are coming up in Oman, refurbishing centers. Obviously, the recycling, we've spoken about some of these facilities that are here in Oman. And then in the recovery phase now, once the material that you cannot reuse, the material that you cannot recycle, ends up in the recovery. And recovery is basically an example of a recovery operation is the waste-to-energy facility. And we have one in the pipeline now. Hopefully it will be tendered out in the next few months, where it will take almost 3,000 tons of waste per day and incinerate that to produce around 130 megawatt of electricity, maybe enough to power 30,000 homes or so. So we look at the whole value chain. So from BS perspective, this is our secondary raw material, or our just raw material, and now we're in the phase, or in our transformation phase, where we're now mandated by our shareholder, the Oman Environment Authority, to go out there and monetize and extract value from this waste. Obviously, it would not be possible without a clear policy and strategy at the national level, which the Ministry of Economy is leading right now.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned, because I think one of the most important things in this whole ecosystem is the importance of reducing the waste at source. So when we get to that, it really makes a big difference. And I think that's where what you mentioned earlier about the policy and the lack of data makes a big difference. So maybe Dr. Mohammed, if you can just let us know, what do you see as the Oman Net Zero Center? What kind of, apart from, you mentioned a big achievement, which I'm surprised nobody actually clapped, but the Oman, the Net Zero policy being approved. So I expected some sort of a response, but I think it's the post-coffee break. But apart from that, what future policy directions or frameworks do you think are needed to ensure that recycling becomes a core part of Oman's climate strategy? And if you could also shed some light with specifics to aluminium or metals recycling, because all of us here are linked to the aluminium industry in a way. So if you could maybe hear your thoughts on that.
That's a very good question. I think it's important to clarify something. When it comes to technology and when it comes to the Oman Net Zero Center and Oman's direction towards net zero, we're technology agnostic. We believe that all solutions will help the country achieve net zero. So it's not just one solution.
Sure.
We completely are fully behind scrap reuse and circularity. We believe that this is a very important lever. But there is a caveat. Applying a penalty or a specific regulation on a particular lever, right, within an industry, it then limits the industry when it comes to areas such as carbon crediting. So if a company, for example, wants to explore carbon crediting within a project that's abating some emissions, if that project was done purely because the government told you have to do that, then it's not eligible for carbon credits. So it's a fine line that we have to walk when it comes to applying certain penalties or regulation on very specific decarbonization levers. Now, saying that, we are working at the Oman Net Zero Center with making sure that any sort of waste is either, as Dr. mentioned and Engineer Abdelamir mentioned as well, in terms of making sure that it's either reused or recycled. I was just having a chat with a gentleman from Oman Cement, and there's discussions on carbon shot not necessarily being recycled back in aluminium, but reutilized in cement, in the kilns, for energy generation. So this is the sort of discussion we are very interested in Oman Net Zero Center. It's making sure that all aluminium that is in the form of scrap stays in the country, gets reutilized in the country. That's one important part. I think Azhar highlighted a very clear set of gaps that we need to address. One of them is it seems like all of these scrap collection efforts are segregated. So it's potentially an option for us to aggregate a lot of these collection or collectors in one nationwide collector. So that could be a solution. But these are the sort of discussions we're having as Oman Net Zero Center with the different stakeholders, with Sahara Aluminium or other stakeholders in the country.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mohanad. We'll go back to you, Mr. Muzammil, especially building on this one now, because you are doing it, the recycling. So what do you see from your perspective, practically? What are the sort of critical barriers to scaling recycling? If you want to take recycling, like Dr. Mohanad mentioned, we want to increase the recycling rates in Oman. Currently in the GCC, what we saw in the figures presented by the Gulf Aluminium Council earlier, we are quite behind, right? So what do we need to scale the recycling, and how can they be addressed through coordination between all the stakeholders?
We are involved almost in every GCC countries, and what I can see, the Oman, the big part, what Oman has is BIA, which can be, they are doing great job, but still they need to improve. A lot of landfill is going west, as far as I know with my information, which can be treated much better way. So in order to resources to get it back and do the recycling, as my fellow panelist says, the recycling and they reuse it, and probably the circular economy, if the policy in place with a nice policy, probably currently the situation is going to be last for, I don't know, maybe for decades now. The logistics cost, which is going to affect in a big way. So the circular economy eventually it has to come, like in Saudi Arabia and UAE, the many production coming out, which they are out of recycling, they're producing and doing the circular economy and reusing within the country, which is going to implement it in Oman in a big way. I think there is a big gap which can be filled with the lot of investor, a lot of other recycling companies from outside to come over and do the help in a different way with making the net zero the target what the Oman has. And we are in the same way, we are planning for a quite big recycling facility in Oman in coming years, so where we will contribute maybe 1%, 0.5%, but it will this way half 1%. There are maybe 100 people who would like to come over and help in Oman in a different way, making the economical, making the sustainable and kind of profitable business here.
Absolutely. Thank you. It takes all hands on board. The ocean is nothing but a collection of several drops of water eventually. Yeah. Engineer Abdul Amir, I'd like to get back to you now. If you can let us know from an economic plan perspective, how can Oman maximize returns? Because there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities, and trying to keep the whole, let's say, the waste or resources within the country, increasing in-country value. What do we need for us as Oman to maximize economic returns and position Oman as a hub for this particular field?
Well, that's why circular economy should be strategic for Oman, honestly. It should be seen as industrial layer in the whole supply chain, not just start adding on, And the second thing should be a driver in country value as well, to maximize benefits to all. For example, linking recycling to manufacturing supply chain. I was talking to Mohandas Saeed Masoudi. He mentioned when they started aluminum recycling, even in the Sahara Aluminium, in the beginning it was very difficult, it was very tough.
Yes.
It wasn't received very well by his own staff because it's risky and it's tough. So that's commitment, from management to add this recycling supply chain, it takes guts, honestly. And that's what we need, more of that in the country. Also, values come from developing local procurement capacity and capability for the high chain. When you design your supply chain, there is low or non-difficult supply chain elements, and there is high-end, low-end and high-end. Low-end, I think, collecting the recycling and processing that is everybody can do it. But how about the high-end as well? We need to develop that local. Also enabling SMEs as well, because this will create value. What I saw in the Environment Authority presentation, if you see the policy or the steps or the procedure steps to go forward, to go through, sorry to say that is really difficult, it's really tough. for local SMEs and also for the investors. So we need to kind of streamline, lean that process more and more, and that's advantage of these kind of communities and forums, because we discuss openly. We are not kind of blaming, but the idea is how to improve. All these, will improve the economic efficiency, competitiveness, and will put Oman. All the global economies, they improved in this because they moved fast. Yeah. And I think we have the lever. The study we're doing is the first time it's kind, in the region, the GCC. So we finished the study. We need to now implement it rather than somebody else. They will do it and they will be faster than us. Absolutely. So the idea is speed.
Wonderful. So speed, and on that note, I'm just going to mention that we are going to have to speed up the panel a bit because panelists have some commitments. So I'm just going to throw the floor open for any questions if you have for the panelists. If not, we shall take some closing remarks from them. This is yes, Abu Salam.
My question is for you, Muzammil. Is about the CEPA agreement between UAE and India. Also, Oman this year has signed the CEPA between Oman and India, and has been ratified recently by the government of Oman. How do you see this? This free trade, whatever CEPA, they call it, the free trade agreement between UAE and India and Oman and India will have any impact on scrap movement between the two countries? Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a very good question. In fact, I would like to add here, the CEPA agreement, what Oman and India has recently done, but I think it's not implemented yet. So far, with my information, we had a plan, because the biggest market for our recycled material is India at the moment, and especially in aluminium. Aluminium is the largest in India, and I belongs to India. So we are very closely trying to monitor, but it's according to us, information with the Ministry of Economy, we came to know that it's not implemented so far yet. But yes, between UAE and India, it's been implemented with the 3-layer of time frame in 5 years. Certain numbers of percentage you can have the saving by Indian importers. At the same time, after a couple of years, if you reach to this level, you get another level. That's something what India and UAE has been signed, but Oman and India, what was signed, but it's not implemented so far with my information. I personally had quite long discussion with the Ministry of Economy to understand this CEPA agreement, but they said it was signed, but it's not implemented so far yet. If this signed and if this implemented, for sure, Oman will have a big potential possibility of more recyclers to come and more India to get benefit, because eventually the automobile industry is technically getting biggest in the world is India. And the India and Oman, if the CEPA agreement implemented, it will help a lot both the countries, India as well as Oman.
Thank you for the insights. One more question. I don't want you to regret after the panel is over. Shab, microphone please. So last question to the audience, and then we'll go back to the panel.
Thank you for the insightful panel discussion. I just want to reflect on the Gulf Aluminium Council presentation made by Mahmoud Dailami. And it was also shocking to analyze that the majority of recycling in Oman is on beverage cans, right? And if we really try to see what's the opportunity, it seems the food and packaging is a good stream for us on recycling, right? So if we go into the hierarchy of controls between, eliminate the waste or reuse and recycle, if we just focus on this sector of food and packaging, I think there is the opportunity just by changing regulation to drive more recycling, because I guess other materials can be just landfilling waste. So is there any plan to do analysis on this?
Do you want to direct to anybody specifically or the panelists?
It's a good question. As part of the study or the project we are doing at the ministry, is our role at the ministry, as I said earlier, how to prioritize high impact sectors or industries. Is it food? Is it can collection? Is it something else? And we put all the efforts there. We give them the priority because that will reduce emissions and will improve economic efficiency as well. So I agree with you. We are in the process. We know the prioritization now, and that will be revealed part of the study, and that's where will be part of the roadmap that we are putting for Oman.
Thank you. Maybe with that, Dr. Mohab, if you could just give a wrap-up from your side about recycling and the policy and...
Okay, before I do that, just I want to mention, because I've talked about the solid waste, the tangible part that you see, and from BIA's, what we receive at our facilities is almost 3 million, tons of municipal solid waste per year, 3 million tons of construction and demolition waste, 43,000 tons of industrial and hazardous waste, a couple of tons of medical waste, green and bulky waste, so all kinds of tangible solid waste. But one element that maybe not everybody will think about, the net zero, we're involved closely working with them, is the emissions from these operations. Globally, waste management operations, it between 2 to 4%, contributes between 2 to 4% of the emissions. So if you move towards sustainable practices, you're not just reducing the dependency on virgin raw material and reducing the waste by utilizing the secondary raw material by reusing them and recycling them, but also you are significantly reducing your emissions.
Cool.
And obviously for industries like aluminum or other industries that want to enter the European market or the Asian market, there's going to be now a CBAM price on your carbon emissions. I think they put a price on it, 65 or 75 euros per ton. So it's not just moving towards recycling or sustainable business practices. It's not just a good to have. It's a financial business decision now that is actually going to hit your bottom line. So people, when you think about these ESG or sustainable practices or sustainable production and consumption, it's not something for the environment. It does have an environmental angle to it, but it's more or less a financial pillar right now. And I think that is something that, as more industries like Sohar Aluminium and other industries start to grasp this, we will see a lot of shift to more sustainable production and more sustainable consumption. But we still need very clear policies and guidelines and strategies. And I think Oman in the region is really ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
Fantastic. Good to hear we are ahead of the curve on that. And that actually brings me, or rather I recall the remarks made by Engineer Said in his opening remarks, where he said that every ton of aluminum recycled, for me it's three things now. It's energy saved, emissions avoided, and money made. So it's socio and economic and environmental, of course. Environmental, and I'll go to you now, Net Zero Center, Dr. Muhammad. As we get towards that big target of 2050, how do you see the role of net zero, playing a bigger role, playing, bigger responsibilities, and, what kind of collaboration you see happening to get us to that target in that time?
I think we're on the right pathway. Getting the strategy approved sends a very clear market signal to the industry. There are clear targets. Each sector in any particular industry needs to reduce by this much, and you have all the possible levers open for you as an industry to explore to reduce your emissions. Scrap reuse is obviously one of them. I will just refer back to, I think, Shah's presentation. He mentioned, if my maths is correct, I think the energy consumption is 95% lower.
Lesser, yes.
When you reuse the recycled aluminium, that automatically translates to emission reductions. So for us, if you just follow the easy to implement levers, scrap reuse is one of them. One of the key metrics that we use at Oman Net Zero Center is something, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, it's called the marginal abatement cost of a particular technology. The marginal abatement cost of scrap reuse, according to our strategy, is minus $66 per ton of CO2. It's minus 66. This means you actually make money by recycling your aluminium. But as I said at the beginning, I don't believe it's just about increasing volumes. I think it's the whole value chain. This is what Dr. Mohab stressed on. It's about making sure that we get that mindset shift at the beginning. You and I, every one of us, are throwing all our trash in one can. This should change. That it has to start from our houses. And if it doesn't start from there, then unfortunately everything just cascades down to become something that's not useful for us. So that mindset change has to happen, and with that, everything will fall into place. I believe that's the way forward. And with a clear strategy that we have at Oman Net Zero Center, with the support of Environment Authority, BIA, Ministry of Economy, I think we can get there.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Indeed, collaboration and partnership is essential. Engineer Abdul just closing remarks from you. How do we accelerate recycling? We've heard of the economic and financial benefits, but what do we need to accelerate the recycling and to really start seeing those tangible benefits hit us?
Actually, the opportunity is real, honestly. If I had to prioritize one transformation action, will be really to establish national market-based framework, for a circular economy, which means clear targets, clear roles and responsibilities, by all, and we see the line of sight everybody is related to that. From this study, what I personally came to learn or to know, in circular economy, the winners are not the biggest, but the fastest to act or to move. When we had benchmark exercise, and Dr. Mohab knows this because Sharakat BIA is really prime member in this study, and I thank them for all support. Benchmark, you see maybe European Union, they have the biggest, China, USA, and others. They start moving, because they have very big kind of ambitious target. But in our region, if we act fast as Oman, I think we have big opportunity. Trade agreement with India, it could be one of the tools for us as well.
I would like to add here, with my 35 years of experience in recycling industry, and for last 1 decade, things have been changed drastically. If you go through the history for last 1 decade, Japan was the first country who introduced the waste to energy plant in order to have the sustainable future, where they have what Japan has started doing it. Whatever the waste comes into the landfill, by using the technology, they get the maximum recyclable material come out. The rest, they put it into waste to energy plant, where they abstract the electricity, and then the landfill has become zero, which slowly, steadily, they adopted by the Europe, followed by Turkey, and then eventually in Dubai. Recently, Dubai has one plant is already under running, and 2 more plants are coming in UAE, one in Abu Dhabi, one in Jebel Ali. So this is the future. Actually, using the technology, you get the maximum resources saved by your own, which can be recycled, which can be reused, and eventually make the economy worth it, and future will be better. And the rest of the waste, instead of dumping into the west yard, I think BIA, Ministry of Economy and Environment aligned together with considering this for future. This is my personal recommendation to consider, think about which can be possible. I saw the few BIA's landfill areas. There are meters and meters area where landfill is still lying there, which eventually is hurting in one way or other. Of course, BIA is doing their best and trying to save the maximum they can. But this new technology, which actually can be adopted, and eventually by using the waste to energy plant, which make eventually in 10 years, maybe down the road 15 years, it becomes zero waste in the country.
Inshallah, that's a good vision to work towards. That's a good ambition to have. So I think if we can take a few keywords that I've heard and I've learned from this session. We really need a clear policy. We need a clear framework for a circular economy. We are really positioned well. There's a huge potential in terms of the volumes, in terms of the money to be made, but we need to act on it with speed, with decisiveness. And I think the other thing that you mentioned, which I liked, was you need courage and you need commitment. So you need courage to take the risks, as you mentioned, and you need commitment to stick with it despite the initial challenges. Recycling at the end of the day is not just one person responsible, it's all of us, the community, the industry, the government, all of us in it together. And it's not just environmental benefits, but there's also financial sense that makes out of recycling. And this is again one of the paths for us to achieve our goals of net zero and keep the environment sane and clean for the coming generations. So on that note, I'd like to thank our panelists. Please request for a huge round of applause for them for sharing their time, for sharing their insights. And it's been a great experience for me to be here with you today. Thank you so much, panelists.